Now, with us this morning, to review the papers are writer and academic Mo Lovett and broadcaster Pete Price. Very good morning to you both. Merry Christmas.
Good morning. Merry Christmas.
Good to see you. Pete, let's start with you, if I may. Of course, the story dominating many of the front pages is, of course, that horrendous shooting on Merseyside on Christmas Eve. Of course, you're on Merseyside, and this is not the first shocking shooting up there, is it? What's the reaction?
It's not the first. It's a dreadful time. People are incredibly angry. I live on the Wirral. For those people who don't understand, the Wirral is a peninsula. Across the water is Liverpool, and we're a community called Merseyside. There's been a lot of shootings, sadly, in Liverpool, but this is alien to us on this side of the water, and it's been really shocking. The police were on it, so fast, because Merseyside police do a phenomenal job under these very difficult circumstances. She was a beautiful young lady. It was apparently 10 minutes before Christmas Day. She was having a party. She got caught up in this pub. She got caught up in the middle of a shooting, it appears, and it's just dreadful. 4 people have been injured. 1 is critically ill now as we speak. She was just, you can't imagine it. I went out yesterday, I was working around the area, and people are so angry and in disbelief and can't understand what has happened at all. And it's just mind-blowing. A family is destroyed, her friends are destroyed, and people are now a little bit fearful about going anywhere because of this. This was a very popular pub with young people, and it was packed because it was Christmas Eve. It beggars belief the way people can get guns these days, the way people can just shoot like they think it's a Wild West show. It's disgusting, and I can't imagine how people are feeling in the family. I saw the father and family arrive with flowers, and Ellie's just a beautiful soul who has lost her life, and Christmas has been destroyed forever for many, many people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, poor family. And of course, the police say that Elle wasn't the intended target, but of course, absolutely tragic. Ellie, sorry, I should say. Mo, do you want to add anything to that before we move on?
Well, only the fact, to reinforce how tragic it is. It's sort of a story we can all relate to. The first Christmas out of COVID restrictions, a group of friends celebrating the turning of Christmas into Christmas Day, and this tragedy befalls them. I think we can all relate to that because it could have been any one of us, and I think that's what makes it so tragic. And it's not surprising that a close community like that feels it's an attack upon them, because it is. I mean, how dare somebody so mindlessly destroy the lives of so many people in that one instance? It's tragic.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, Mo, the Daily Telegraph front page. You've highlighted this story that energy companies are increasing customers' direct debits even when their accounts are in credit. What's all this about?
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm a little bit obsessed with energy bills at the moment, probably like a lot of other people. This is an investigation by The Telegraph that finds that energy companies are keeping hold of almost £2 billion of customers' cash. And basically what they're doing, they're continuing to increase direct debit amounts, even when the customers are in credit themselves. And in many cases, by thousands of pounds in credit. One woman that The Telegraph found, one customer said she's handed over £2.5 grand last year for energy she hasn't even used, and she's barely had the heating on. Essentially, it's coming up in some of the accounts of some of the companies as deferred income. So basically, they're hanging on to this, and they've been sort of criticised for kind of using it to prop their businesses up by a former Ofgem board member, Christine Furnish, in the Telegraph there. Centrica, who owns British Gas, who are said to have had sort of nearly 600 million of customers' money in abeyance, have said that it's ring-fenced, that it is ring-fenced and it's not being used as kind of, capital, working capital. But, needless to say, when people are having these increased bills, it probably rankles quite badly that the energy companies are able to do this.
Pete, you want to say something? Do you want to jump in there?
I do indeed. I think the energy companies are a disgrace. If they were kind and thoughtful like they're trying to make out, they would give some of this money back now, because this money should be in the pockets of people who are struggling, and we know everyone's struggling. So if they were caring as they say, give the money back now and help the public out there.
Yeah, and another source of dismay for many people around the UK, energy is one thing, but also trains, Pete. You know, we've had a lot of rail strikes recently. They'll be carrying on into the new year as well. And then this investigation by The Guardian shows that the service is pretty poor, even when it's running a full service.
I think poor is an understatement. I go back and forwards to London a lot. I've been going on Avanti. One train I went on, 9 carriages, 9 full carriages, not one toilet was working, and we had to have a toilet stop at Rugby. And I am paying a great deal of money for that train ticket. It's the whole system seems to be falling apart, and you don't know whether there's a strike or not, because they're just collapsing as they are, just without the strikes.
Yeah, quite right. And of course, train tickets are going up as well, aren't they, in just a few months' time?
No.
Mo, the front page of the Daily Telegraph, high streets in rural areas or smaller towns have actually benefited from these rail strikes.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting on that last story that the A reported that teams were on the road yesterday because people were avoiding, obviously there was the strikes yesterday as well. But this is having an impact on shopping. It's had an impact on where people are able to do their Christmas shopping and where they're looking for their sales, their kind of January sales. In one way, so the high street, in particularly big cities, are struggling because people want to go into the large cities because of the chaos on the roads and the public transport. It is, however, benefiting kind of smaller high streets locally. So I suppose it's good news for some, local high streets, but not so good for the big cities. And of course, we all got used to shopping, on the internet during COVID, if we weren't already that way minded. So I think a lot of people just started their shopping online and hoped for the best that it would come in time. It is worrying for the high street. But you do hope as perhaps some of the chaos subsides, as people get used to going out more, that we'll have more of a lively public square, because I quite enjoy shopping in person. I'm not so keen on shopping online.
Yeah, I think many still are, aren't they? I mean, let's end with something slightly lighter, shall we, Pete, after all this grim news around. The front page of the Daily Star, I mean, you can always rely on the Star, can't you? Blizzard lizards, when they're talking about this terrible storm that's hit the US.
It's a terrible story, though. I mean, it's amusing where they put it. What they're saying is iguanas fall out of the trees with the cold weather. That's the basis of this story. But I've just come back from New York, and thank goodness I got back in time before the weather set in, because it really does struggle. I think 55 people have died so far. It really is bad weather this time. And yes, the Star have given us a lovely amusing title, Blizzard Lizards. And I wanted to pick this story anyway, because if you go online and put Pete Price and lizards, you'll understand why. Won't do it now. But it is a serious story. Because there is a serious
next hour,
side.
I'm really sorry. Pete and Mo, thank you so much. See you next hour, and more on our top stories at the top of the hour. Stay with us.